All right, guys, welcome to the second session. Uh-oh. Hey, Jason, I'm disabled, I think. It doesn't let me share my screen. Oh, now I'm back in. He's on it. He's always on it. Let me check here, guys. I need to get my screen up. I'm mobile today, so a little bit different setup on my side. Let me get there. All right, now. Oh, this is perfect. Sometimes I accidentally do good things. Do the right thing, right? All right, this is perfect. My setup is going to work good. All right, let me make sure you guys can see the PowerPoint screen. Everybody see that okay? And can you hear me okay? That's the other part I need to check. Yes? Nod your head if you got your video on. All right, we're in business then. All right, who's joining us for the first time? All right, if you want to unmute, we kind of last time told everybody who we were and which market center you're in, and if you've attended any Ignite sessions before. So if you're new, we're going to have you say that for everybody that's been here, and then you'll always catch all the new people. I also made a suggestion too that what you might do is write down the names of the people that are on the screen today so that you guys can all connect and chat about questions and hopefully even have a support group or something as you're going through Ignite. So anyway, if you're new, unmute yourself, tell everybody who you are, which office you're in, and if you've been in Ignite before, or if this is your first time.
Hi,
Looks
I'm Anna.
like we've got Anna. Yeah.
Yep. Hi, how are you? I'm Anna. I am in the Fort Lee Market Center, and I'm new, and I haven't. It's my first time doing Ignite.
All right, new to real estate.
Yes.
Well, look at you go.
3 weeks in.
3 weeks.
Yep.
Well, look at you go. We got some experienced people on here. You definitely want to write down their names because as they're going through Ignite, they're going to see where all this stuff that we talk about kind of fits into how they've been doing their business. And you can learn so much from them because what you're doing, which I think is awesome for anybody that's new, is I'm giving you some masterful level conversations and 30 years of real estate. And I'm giving you real world examples where we've used a lot of this stuff. And you haven't been there yet, so you may not have those contracts running to know when you're going to need this stuff. But the more you hear it, the more when that situation pops up, you're going to be ready for it. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So this is one of the things that I suggest. Oh, hold on, I'll come right back to you if somebody else is in. I don't see everybody yet, but is that taking this over and over and over again as you're growing your real estate career will serve you so amazingly well. It's crazy. All right, go ahead. Somebody else wanted to jump in? I'm hearing something, some background coming from somewhere. I don't know if it's my phone or what. All right, anybody else new on the call? All right. Okay, so if you printed out the booklet, and did everybody get the link and stuff that they needed to get to access everything? I know somebody sent me an email or a message or something. Here's the thing about technology. Sometimes there's so many mediums. It's like somebody needed the link to the review, and I could not find the dang message anywhere to figure out who the heck it was in class Monday. So if you're listening, you can pop that into the chat. I'm going to put my email in here again. You guys have my email and my cell phone number, and you can call me anytime outside of these sessions if you have any questions or want to ask more questions about what we cover. And if I forgot to send you the link to fill out the survey on what you thought about the class on Monday, just let me know that again, either one of those. All right, there's Maura. We can see her. Woohoo! How are you? I see you're muted.
I'm very good, thank you. How you doing, Brad?
Good, good. All right, so guys, as I get rolling, if you're familiar with Zoom at all, there's supposed to be a little hand you can raise somewhere if you have a question or why is my screen paused? Let me see here. Resume share. Okay, there we go. I just want to make sure I had that right. Yep. Okay, cool. Did it pause out and black out on you when I did that before? Okay, I got you. Trying to bring my PowerPoint forward here. What the heck? All right, I might have to shrink my window on you guys a little bit to make this work. What am I missing? Hold on, logistics. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so as I'm rolling, there should be a hand that you can raise or chat, type something in the chat box and I'll look for it. If you've typed something in the chat box and you saw it and I haven't responded to it yet, somebody unmute if they can't and say, hey, there's a question in the mute or in the chat box that looks interesting. So sometimes I get going and rolling and I forget to pay attention to stuff on the side. So anyway, when you look at this today, lead generation is the core of your business. There was an old course in Keller Williams called Your Database is Your Business. And I can literally look at your database and your list, and I can tell you how many deals you're probably going to close in the next 12 months, or how many you closed last year just by looking at your database. Then, based on yesterday or Monday's conversation, which I'll share a little bit of that again today, I'll kind of share it almost every day. I want to ingrain this in your head that how many deals are really available in your database. And it truly comes back to the core. If you weren't in the first call on Monday, hear this. It comes back to the core of getting every person who would know who you are remotely, like they've met you. Maybe you're not best friends. Maybe you're not, you've had a couple conversations, but you've crossed paths. They've either sent you an email, they're friends on Facebook, they're in your cell phone. Those people have crossed paths with you. They kind of know who you are, you kind of know who they are, but the more that time passes between that first meeting, it becomes those things where it's like, gosh, how do I know them? How do I know them? So we want to eliminate that. And what we talked about on Monday is going through, pull up your Facebook friends list, scroll all the way to the bottom so that refreshes the screen all the way in there. So you have your whole list on there. And it may take, depending on how many friends you have, I have 5,000. I'm maxed out on my personal profile. I think it took me 45 minutes to get to the end after the screen refresh, because the little bar, how many have done that so far? Like started scrolling through your Facebook friends list. All right. If you didn't do it since Monday, start it today. Trust me, we're going to get through this material so fast and you're going to wish you had done it on Monday, because it's going to pay off for you as we start going through a lot of this material. And if you have that list handy, you're going to be able to cash in on it. So scrolling down, it took me like 45 minutes to go through 5,000 names. If you have 1,000, it's probably going to take you like 20 minutes to get it all in there. Then go back up to the top, and all you're focused on is writing down the name of that person in a notebook. Next to that name, we're going to find a phone number and an address. And I'm going to reiterate this because it's like hearing it several times will help you get it going faster. And I'm only telling you the part about you're going to wish you had done this on Monday was based on the last 2 or 3 sessions that we've done. And everybody about halfway through was like, oh man, I should have done that. I haven't done it yet. And that's another reason why you want to take the class over and over and over again and hear it, because that message will always be in here. It's the core. It is if it's back to the old Bold example, you know, going through Bold, if you actually contacted 700 people in 7 weeks of Bold, I mean, you will have at least 70 to 140 transactions available to you over the next 12 months after you finish Bold. And I'm just going to verify some numbers too. So I'm kind of bouncing around. If you guys need clarity, just stop me and ask questions. But in Bold, I don't know if you paid attention to it, but they show what the average sales are for the agents that take Bold while they're in Bold. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Does anybody remember that number or know what it is? Because I know several of you have taken Bold. Do you remember what the average transactions are for an agent that takes bold? It's 14. Does that sound familiar? You remember seeing that in bold? They say that if an agent takes bold, they're going to average about 14 sales from taking bold. And the reason why it's 14 sales is because if they did 700, if they contacted 20 people a day, 5 days a week, so that's going to be 100 people a week while you're in bold. And this is that's your accountability session to, now that you guys understand it, to sign up for and say, make me contact 700 people. And if you have this notebook created that I just told you, take your Facebook friends list and your cell phone list and write down all the names and your contacts in your phone, right? Write down every incoming call, write down the name or the number and figure out what their name is. If you just have a number, and if you have their name, you've already got their phone number, go ahead and write it down right next to their name, right? And when you create this notebook and then you go through bold, you're just going to go through your list, your notebook, and you're going to call until 20 people answer until you get through your whole notebook. And when you do 700 connections during bold, if they're moving every 10 years, on average, that's 70 people that will be moving over the next 12 months. And if they're moving every 5 years, which I think you guys determined your market's probably closer to the 5 to 7, that means there's somewhere between 100 to 140 people moving in the next 12 months out of that 700 people while you were in bold. The reason why the sales are 14 is because that's only 2 months of the 12-month year. So if it's 70 divided by 12, right, we're around 6 or 7 transactions per month out of those 70 people that might be moving, right? So 6 times 2 months is 12. That's where the 14 comes from. So the people that are averaging 14 sales during bold are going to do 70 sales over the next 12 months after bold, if they stay in touch with those 700 people for the rest of time, right? So does that make sense? Did I do the math okay? Did you follow that? If the average person's moving every 10 years, then for every 100 people you know, there's 10 people moving every single year. If you know 200 people, there's 20 people moving. If you know 500 people, there's 50 people moving. The problem is we don't stay in touch with those people consistently and regularly. So that's where the notebook comes in, to get all your names in one place from every spreadsheet that you have. I mean, you can go through your inbox and your outbox and your email. And if you don't have a name, write down the email address and then figure out what their name is, and then figure out their phone number, and then figure out their address. And you start filling in those pieces of that puzzle in your notebook, and that becomes your feeder form for everything that we talk about throughout Ignite to make those connections. The goal is to open that notebook every single day and just start dialing numbers until 5 people answer their phone and you connect with them, so that you can then write them a handwritten note and then start the follow-up plan to stay in touch with them forever, which that is the 8x8 and the 36 touch. If you aren't familiar with that, really like solidly yet, it's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And if you're on this call, it means you're at KW. And if you're at KW and you don't have a copy of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, go to your front desk and tell them you need a copy of that, so they can get you a copy of the book, and then write down pages 133 through 148. 133 through 148. In fact, I better put that in the notes here. Millionaire Real Estate Agent, or MREA is what we call it. And you want pages 133 through 148. Now, just to have a little fun and make you guys participate a little bit, make you hit the unmute on your microphone. How many pages is that? How many pages? What's 148 minus 133?
15.
15.
Wrong math.
Trick question. So 15 pages. Can you read 15 pages 10 times? Right? The book's this thick. Telling you to read the book 10 times is overwhelming. Read 15 pages 10 times. Put a little sticky note on page 133 and read to 148, put a sticky note there so you know you got there. And every time you read it, put a tally. And then go back to the first sticky note, read it again, put a tally. Read it, tally. I'm telling you what, guys, that is a gold mine. Like that will be what will drive you. And it's gonna take about the 6th or 7th read for something big to happen. You're gonna get excited when you read it the first or second time. 3rd and 4th time, you're like, all right, this is silly. 5th and 6th time, you're gonna go, oh my God, I get it. I get the Notebook. That's where you're gonna have an epiphany, and we're gonna have a lot of fun together. So we're still gonna have fun together anyway, but let's have fun together and make some money too. You guys all right with that? All right, so we're gonna talk about lead generation today, and it is the core of your business. So all of this is gonna relate to exactly what I just talked about. And again, I hope I don't bore you. Do not ignore the Notebook and that stuff, and don't get bored hearing me say it, because agents do all the time. They're like, yeah. No, you're not doing it. You're missing out. And they turn around and go out and try and find the next piece of business, try and convince a stranger to do business with them. And I get that. You still can do that because we need the next deal. You're going to find that this method that I share with the Notebook and your database and your Facebook friends list and your phone, that's a 1-year process. And it's not going to be 1 year to get a sale. If you actually did 5 a day, every time I've gotten somebody to do it, which is probably 1,000 agents, they all find 2 to 3 deals within the first 3 or 4 weeks. And they're deals they would have never had. And they're like, I get the calls all the time. It's like, you know what? I actually did it. I did the 5 a day every day for the last 30 days. And I found 3 opportunities that I would never have gotten had I not done this. And I was like, I know, I've already been there. I've done it. So today when we're talking about, or let me just pause for a second, because I know I'm rolling and I like to talk fast. So I'm sure it's fun to try and keep up with me, isn't it? But you guys have any questions about any of that, clarity, anything, anybody who's tried it and is stumbling a little bit or having issues? And I know for some reason, yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you about the bold?
Yes.
I don't have much information, so is it, do you suggest for new agents, or, because we received an email to register, but I have a lack of information about it.
Yeah, great question. And it is intense. So it is for every single agent that really needs to blow their business up fast. It is an adrenaline shot. Than an experienced agent. When I've probably been through bold 12 times, 13 times, I quit counting, and I should be keeping track because everybody says how many times they've gone through. I don't like bold because it makes me uncomfortable. And I'm saying that from a good unlike, right? It is a boost to the business like you would never believe, because see, I naturally contact and stay in touch with 5 people a day. I just do it like it's nothing. When I go to bold, there's accountability. You have a team that you play on that helps you stay accountable so that you will get the results. They just want you to get the results. So yeah, you can cheat your way through bold, and most people cheat their way through bold, but when you're on a team and there's that accountability to do 20 connections a day, I mean, that's uncomfortable for me. I mean, that is like, man, that takes like 2-3 hours to do that every single day. And then they have a bold 100 where you'll get a pin. I have dozens. I have a pin from every time I've taken bold. My next challenge would be to get bold 100 every week that I'm in bold, get 7 pins in one session. But it is brutal. That's 100 two-way conversations with people about real estate in one day. 100. I can tell you exactly how long it takes. 5.5 hours. I mean, go ahead.
No, I was asking, are these potential calls, or you just try your luck out there?
They're getting you into the habit of calling and talking to anyone about real estate. There's people that go to the mall and walk around. There's people that go knock on doors. There's people that go to an event and walk around and they hand out their card and they say, hey, I'm in a contest today. I need to talk to 100 people about real estate. And so there's that again is even kind of a cheating way. If you ran through a networking group that had 200 people in it, and you just handed your card and say, hey, I just need to have your name and I just need to have you tally to talk to somebody about real estate. That's not really talking about real estate. Even though I talked to this person and I said real estate, I might count it to get my bold 100. That's kind of the cheating way when I say people kind of cheat through bold.
Okay.
If you really had 100 conversations, I will tell you when I start with a list, and again, I'm kind of jumping ahead here. This is the bold 100, which is the even more intense part of bold. You have to have a list with 200 names and numbers on it, because half the people aren't going to answer the phone. And half the people will be very short conversations. They don't really have time to listen. And most 70 or 80% of those people that answer the phone will be nice to you. They won't hang up on you, but they're also not moving. You're not going to find 100 moving people. You're going to find 2 appointments out of this one day. And it will be 4 or 5 of them that will tell you, we're kind of playing around with it. Or somebody will say, out of 100 two-way conversations of genuinely talking about real estate, I will find 1 or 2 people that are like, yeah, we are curious what our house might be worth. And it's a real appointment. So when you're going through bold, and the normal assignment is to make 20 contacts a day, 5 days a week while you're going through bold. That's why I say you're going to have 700 connections if you stick to the plan. Most people, like we acknowledged at the yesterday's or Monday's session, first week you kind of get your 20 in and you kind of almost do 100 connections, or you do the 100. It's the second week. It's that second week that I believe, who was it that I think it was Maura even might have said, you kind of run out of, you shook your head when you kind of run out of those people to call the second week. And by the third week, you're spending more time just to figure out who to call than you are calling even 5 people a day. That's just the reality of how it rolls out. And actually, that's where the notebook came from, because I was like, man, if I just had a list. In fact, listen to this bold, and I'll come back and finish the bold question too. But what if you came to bold and I said, hey, Maura, I already called 20 people, these 20 people that you know, and you'd look at the names and go, yeah, okay, they're in my database. So I already called them and told them that you were going to call them today, and they were excited and they are waiting for your call, right? So she's going to go, okay, well, if you've already told them and they're waiting for me to call, I'm going to call them. Tomorrow I showed up, or the next week I show up and I go, hey, I just called these 20 people and they were so excited to hear your name. And they were like, oh man, we miss her. And so they're waiting for you to call. And if I handed you that list every single day, you would make those calls every single day because they're waiting for your call, right? So that's where if we pull that stuff into a notebook, then you have your list to pull from. So now come back and finish. There should be information on when the next bold is coming. It is very intense. And I would suggest, even if you're a little nervous, take it. If you go through it, stick to the plan as best you possibly can. You probably will fail a little bit the first time you take bold, maybe the second time you take bold, maybe the third time you take bold. But the more you get on track and you start getting those 20 in every single day, you're going to end up like, oh crud, I can't believe I just forgot his name. Who's our big Austin guy that did bold 10 times and now he's a millionaire? Anybody remember his name? He's in Austin, and I can't believe I just remembered his name, or I can't believe I forgot his name. That's my age showing up here. But when you do it, you will sell 100, 200, 300 homes a year as you go through. So bold is very intense, and it will definitely, if you have to make money in real estate, you should take bold every single time it comes. If you're just doing this as a hobby and you really don't work it very hard and you kind of do it for fun, bold's probably not for you. So I hope that answers your question a little bit about bold. Yes?
Yes, it just, I'm a bit intimidating because I don't have too much information on how to talk and, the language of real estate. That's why I was a bit hesitated.
Gotcha. That's what they teach you in bold. They teach you
that.
scripts, they teach you mindset, and they actually take 20 minutes out and they go, all right, pick up your phones. It's time to start calling. And the best way to learn the scripts, right, for everybody who's been, is being put on that call spot, isn't it? because you have to call. Now, I'll give you a fun story here. So one of the things, and you guys tell me if you remember this, but in bold, they give you a list of for sale by owners when you're talking about the for sale by owner stuff. And one of the things that everybody always says, it's like, what if I'm calling the same, we're all calling the same list and we got 100 people in the class. And for those of you who attended, nod your head if this isn't the case. So you're like, well, I don't want to call a FSBO that somebody else has already called. That, you know, they're going to be mean, right? You guys remember those? Or did you experience that? And it's like, listen, you're the 5th person that's called me today because there's 100 people calling everybody in the list. And I would hate to be the A's on that list because those are the people that are like, you're the 5th person that's called me today. Leave me alone, right? But they said one thing, they gave us a script. They said, if you call and they say they've talked to another agent or they're talking to another agent, just say, hey, they said something like, just say, yeah, they'll go ahead and wait for you. I'll just tell you a little bit more about it. And so whatever that script was, I actually called, and my teammate at my table right next to me, I'm like calling his FSBO. She answers the phone and I saw Amber talking, right? And all of a sudden she stops talking when I use the script. I said, yeah, she'll hold for you. I actually probably even know who she is, but let me just find out kind of what's going on with your house and all that stuff. And Amber's sitting there, all of a sudden she quits talking and she's looking at me going, you're talking to my for sale by owner. And we laughed the rest of the day. It was awesome because I just used the script that they gave me in the class and it worked. And that lady stayed on the phone with me and Amber hung up. So anyway, just fun stuff. So it is intense and it is fun. Well, okay, it's not fun, but it should be fun. You want it to be fun because it's actually going to blow up your business if you do what they show you and teach you how to do.
Okay,
All right.
thank you for your advice.
My pleasure. All right, so guys, today, same thing with Spark. We're talking about how to grow your business, and in Elements, we're going to be talking about running the business. So this is just a process that we're going through, and we're bringing in each step in each phase of the business to help you understand the whole big picture of your business. The other thing is this was designed to like do in a full day or 2 full days. And it's so much content in 2 days. First of all, you have to make the commitment to be there for the whole day or 2. The second thing is it's like, at the end of this session, doing an hour every other day, your brain's already going to be swollen. How many of you have just a little bit of brain swelling from Monday still, right? So imagine doing it all in 1 day. So the style of this is to break it down to an hour and spread it out so that more people can make it to all the sessions. We actually are recording them in case you do miss one or have to jump out part of the way through. Always tune in to as much as you can, because it doesn't matter if you hear some pieces and don't hear others. You just need to hear the message over and over and over again. Become a lifelong Ignite student with me, and that will actually explode your business because you'll hear it several times and it will start showing up. And like I was just talking about with Bianca, was I'm giving you the language and the scripts and how to handle situations. So the more you hear it, the more you'll be ready for it when it comes up. So, but today we're just talking about generating buyer and seller leads. This is the lead generation section of it. And this is the part I want you to really understand, because you're going to see this model a lot at Keller Williams. And this is the funnel for capturing names and numbers, getting them into the database, if that's command for you or something else, and what those leads look like when they're in the database and how they process through into business. And what I can tell you about today is I know you all want that next name and number to say, I'm ready to buy and I'm ready to sell, because we need a closing. We need a sale as soon as possible. We're all excited about real estate. We need a sale. We need a sale. We need a sale. However, if everybody's moving every 5 to 10 years, you got to understand that for every 100 people that you meet, only 1 or 2 of them will actually be thinking about moving right now and be ready to have you come talk to them about their house. So in our company, when you hear this, it's a massive numbers game. Massive meaning for every 100 people, you might get 1 appointment. For those of you that don't understand the math on that, It's if everybody's moving every 10 years and there's 100 people, then it's one person moving a month every month for the next 12 months. That'd be 120 people, right? So if 120 people are moving every 10 years, 12 people are moving this year, 12 people are moving next year, 12 people are moving the year after that, right? Because they're moving every 10 years. So no, there's never a month or a year where all 100 people are deciding to move and then nobody moves for the next 10 years. So you're never going to get a high conversion rate when you're just taking a stab at people. So it's always going to be 12 people a year or one person a month. You'd have to talk to all 120 people every single month to get all 12 sales, because the second person on that list doesn't know they're a buyer or seller until next month. The third person that's moving this year doesn't know they're moving until 3 months from now. The fourth person 4 months from now. So you have to stay in touch with everybody. So where most agents make the mistake, and why I preach and swear by this master list, is every person you meet from this day forward goes into your notebook. So you can't, like, what most agents do is if we call the 100 people and we get our one appointment, we're excited. You know, if you do the 100 bold 100, you will get an appointment if you do a bold 100. And if you, for some crazy reason, statistically, whatever, you didn't get one, if you called another 50 or another 100, you will absolutely have 1 or 2 appointments. The numbers just always pan out. They have to. So what a lot of people do, though, is because we're focused on the next deal, we talk to 100 people, and the one who says they're interested, we get excited, we grab onto that, and we just blow off the other 99 people. And what you'll see this happen in your career. It's like people you met a year ago, you're like, oh gosh, I forgot about them. Oh, I forgot about them, because we didn't get them into the database or that funnel that you're looking at. That when you're prospecting, marketing, even take those 2 words out and put human being interaction, because we know every single person is going to move in the next 5 to 10 years. Everybody moves, right? Everybody moves at some point. I get there's some older people that stay in their house for 20 years or 30 years, but they actually know people moving, and most people move every 5 to 10 years. So everybody's moving, which means everybody is your potential prospect or marketing person that you want in your database. So that funnel is to capture everybody you meet from this day forward, either into your notebook, or if you connect with them enough that you have their phone number and their address, you can put them in your database and then stay in touch with them every year forever until they buy or sell with you. Does everybody understand that? How critical that is, right? So the key is to capture it. That's my focus every day is just to go get 5 new people in my database every day. If I keep doing that, my business is always going to do a consistent amount of business on autopilot. If I go a week without adding anybody because I just didn't think about it, my business isn't growing anymore. And those people that I cross paths with are going to buy and sell, but they're not going to remember me because I don't even have them in my database to send them anything. So when those leads come in and understanding those models, we're going to break them down on what a lead is versus what a contact is. And when that goes into the database, then you're going to cultivate that with a follow-up plan. And Command is the automated follow-up plan through smart plans to remind us to call again, or to send an email out, or to do something with that person over a period of time. And the best way I can explain this is it's a campaign or it's an action plan, and we call them smart plans. And they're a series of events. This is going to happen. And then 2 days later, I want to do this. And 7 days later, send this email. And 7 days after that, send this out. And then 7 days after that, remember to call them again. And then 7 days after that. And so all that's built into one plan, so that when I meet somebody today and I connected with them, I just go in there and start the smart plan that's called my 8x8. And the very first thing in the 8x8 that attaches to their name says, did you send the handwritten note? And it's like, I should be doing that naturally, but it's still one of the steps, because if I got busy or sidetracked and forgot to do it, then the system catches it and says, did you send the note? Because the note needs to go in the mail within 24 hours of that connection. It's going to set up the rest of the acceptance of my phone calls or looking at my stuff that comes in their mail. And I'm going to pause here for a second. All of the things that you're going to send them, I can promise you right now, they will not read anything. The content that you're sending out doesn't matter. The email that you're sending them does not need to be some magically written, perfect email, because they're not even going to look at it. Which then why are we sending it? Because we need that touch to keep our name in front of them so that when the phone call pops up 4 weeks later, they're like, oh, it's Maura, and they take the call. If you called them out of the blue, used a script on them, hey, this is Brad Korn with Keller Williams. Are you thinking about buying or selling? And they're like, no, we're actually not. You know, do you know anybody who is? Can't think of anybody off the top of my head. Okay, well, if you think of somebody, will you call me back and let me know? Yeah, okay. And now when I call them again in 4 weeks to see if they found anybody, they're like, nah, I don't know anybody. I forgot. I didn't even think about it. So they let it go to voicemail. Do you guys see the difference here? That when I connect with somebody and I write them a note and say it was so great connecting with you, and then I just stayed in touch with them with some drip email or letter or whatever, and then the phone rings again. The note card is the magic piece that they're like, they feel so good when they get that they're like, oh, it's Brad, and they take my call. And then I can talk to them again. So in this example, we capture them, get them in, classify them, but then we cultivate them a little differently on how we do it, whether the lead is people that we don't really know and the contacts are people that we meet and connect with. Then we cultivate those because we ultimately want to get to an appointment and we want to get them to write a contract and close on the house. So that's kind of where we're going with this model and sharing this today. Any questions about anything here or anything I've talked about? Okay, we're going to break this down then on what the difference is between prospecting and marketing. And we're also going to break down the difference between leads and contacts. And so you can understand when you're lead generating, when you see this graphic here on lead generating is every single human being that you come in contact with. That's Brad's definition of lead generating. So when I say it's time to lead generate, I'm just doing it all the time naturally. Every single person that crosses my paths, all I'm focused on is, do I have their phone number or address so I can get them in my database? If we had a two-way conversation, I want them in my database because now I've connected. Now, as long as I stay in touch with them, I'll be there when they get ready to be that person that's moving in whatever month or year that is. So that is like, oh, if I meet somebody and I can't find their phone number and address, it's a bad day for me because that means my business is, I just lost a $6,000 commission check because I'm not going to be able to keep in touch with them. So and we'll break that down on the lead generation stuff. So here's the difference between marketing and prospecting. And again, when you hear me say prospecting, I want you to hear me say every single human being I come in contact with from this day forward forever is your prospecting, because every single person's going to move, right? Now, there might be somebody that I'm prospecting for sale by owners or prospecting expireds. You're going to find the same thing. If you call 100 for sale by owners and 100 expired listings, I don't understand the math, but you don't get 10 or 20 appointments. I would think you should. These are two classes of people that want to sell their house. Yet if you call 100 for sale by owners, you'll get 1 or 2 appointments. If you call 100 expireds, you'll get 1 or 2 appointments if you're lucky. If you call 10, you won't get any. And you might get lucky and get 1 once in a while, but you won't get 1 every time you call 10 for sale by owners. It doesn't, if you figure that formula out, let me know. I'm gonna have you teach me a class, all right? Doesn't work out that way. I don't know why, but it doesn't work out that way. Well, I kind of know why. A for sale by owner has a different motivation than somebody who actually chooses an agent that's going to sell their house. And so it's probably an unmotivated seller who's unrealistic about their price and didn't like what the realtors told them their price was. And so they're trying to for sale by owner and make more money. And you can't overprice. Even though in this crazy market, things are going for overpriced, you can't get ridiculous. More of them are going to get lucky now, but same with expireds. I mean, they're probably expired because they really didn't have to sell or didn't want to sell. They would only sell if they got some ridiculous price for their house. So the motivation really isn't there, and they're really not sellers in any way. Now they will be over the next year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, because all of a sudden something's going to change in their life that they are going to be motivated and they are going to price their house right. Does that make sense? So that's why it is still 1 to 2 out of 100, but it does not get any better. So in this, when you're marketing, when you're throwing stuff out to the masses, that's expensive. It takes money to go mail to a whole neighborhood. And if I mail to a whole neighborhood of 200 to 500 homes, so it may not seem like it costs a lot to mail 500 postcards, but really out of 500 homes in the neighborhood, here we go. Let's check in. I got ready. Get your unmute ready, or type in the chat box. Out of a 500 home neighborhood, how many people are probably moving in the next year out of that 500 home neighborhood? It's an easy question. I'm not even giving you guys hard questions. Who knows?
50.
50. I hear 50. I see 10. I see 15. If it's 500 homes in a neighborhood and they're moving every 10 years, that would be what? 50? 50. 50 are moving. Divide that by 12. That means out of that 500 home neighborhood, there's somewhere around 4 of those people in that neighborhood will sell this month. So if you went into a neighborhood that was 500 homes, you're going to see more than one sign in the yard in the whole neighborhood, won't you? You're going to see 2, 3, or 4. If that's a 500 home neighborhood, right? If it were 200 homes, would you guys say your neighborhoods are closer to like 100 to 200 homes in each neighborhood? Or do you see 500 home neighborhoods? Yeah, so you see them all. If it's a 200 home neighborhood, there's going to be 20 people moving in the next year for sure, right? It might even be 40, but it's going to be around 20 for sure. Divide that by 12, you're going to see 1 or 2 signs in a 200 home neighborhood at any given time. That's because there's going to be 2 people moving every single month consistently. So the way to get that neighborhood is, again, I'd have to talk to all 500 of them every single month to figure out who the next 4 are that are moving. I'd have to talk to all 200 homes in that neighborhood to find the 2 that are moving this month, and the 2 that are moving next month, and 2 that are moving the month after. So what agents do is they do this mass marketing to a neighborhood. I can sell your house. I can sell your house. I can sell your house. And they're mailing that every single month. And there's only 2 people moving, and a postcard shows up in the mail. Well, if they already have a relationship with a real estate agent, or they know a real estate agent, because see, about every 3 or 4 people are agents. So as soon as they tell somebody at work, yeah, we're thinking about moving, it's like, oh my gosh, you ought to call my realtor. The postcard's just deaf ears. The only time the postcard works is if it hits everybody, and it happens to be a person that doesn't have a relationship with any real estate agent, or a relationship with anybody who knows a real estate agent, then you might get an opportunity. So I can mail to those 500 homes every month for a year, and I'm going to get 1 or 2 appointments because I keep missing out on the other people that have relationships. So it's expensive. It takes time. Now, prospecting actually takes more time, because it is about talking, having a conversation. And if you get this, if you really truly make your notebook list and you start calling through, I can already tell you what's going to happen within a week or 2 is you're going to tell me, oh my gosh, this is taking forever. I just spent 45 minutes on the phone with Miss Jones, who told me her whole life story. And yes, that is true, because you haven't stayed connected. You have to get reconnected with them. Now, if you call her again in 4 weeks, your call's not going to be 45 minutes long. It's going to be 30 seconds long, because you just caught up on their entire life story. So most agents can't get past the connection part. They feel like they're wasting time, and I just need to call more people and find the person who's ready to sell. No, that person's going to move. So prospecting definitely takes more time, but the payoff is bigger over the long term. You're building a pipeline. So you don't get those immediate results you don't get immediate results for marketing by staying in touch with people and talking to them and connecting. So when I connect on a phone call, and the first call usually isn't about real estate, but after I'm staying in touch with them, they're going to go, oh man, I meant to call you. My sister's thinking about moving and I forgot to call, because I have consistent calls popping up to stay in touch with them. Those are the kind of things you start picking up on. Oh, my neighbor said they were thinking about selling. I forgot to tell them. And that typically happens in the beginning when you haven't quite gotten connected. So let me see here. I did that for 300 homes, households. The result was 0. 0 on the market, 0 sold. So who was that? Elizabetta? For the entire year, 0 sold. Yes. So in this market, it's different because there's a shortage of homes on the market, and there's people that aren't moving because they don't know where to go to. And sometimes you have gated communities or neighborhoods that don't have much activity at all. That is not the neighborhood that you want to market to, send postcards to. And usually it's somebody's favorite little neighborhood. But the market now is a little different. I would find it shocking to say that out of 300 people, they haven't moved unless it's not homeowners in there. If it's rentals or something like that's a mix in there, I would be shocked if there's not one person in a 300 home neighborhood. So that would be looking for sales, solds 12 months back in that subdivision name. So I might want to look at that one with you and see. And if you go through, just list out 5 or 6 or 7 neighborhoods that you know of and see if it's zeros all the way across the board. That's weird. So let me know about that when you play with that some more. But the prospecting is one-on-one. You're looking for one-on-one relationships and capturing them and getting them in and then staying in closer contact with them. The mass marketing is going to the masses. And I will tell you that as far as I know, mass marketing gets a less than 0.25% return. It's not 2% like the book says. 50 to 1 is 2% conversion rate from your from the database that you're marketing to in the circle that we talked about, the outer ring on pages 133 through 148. And you get a 12 to 2 return for every 12 people that you get in personal contact with and then stay in touch with. You're going to get 2 pieces of business. 1, they'll do business with you sometime in the next 10 years. And 2, they'll probably refer you to somebody sometime in the next 10 years. So that's why you do 5 a day every day until you get 1,200 people in a year. All right, to the database part. So remember what I said, command. We're going to talk about command and we're going to talk about different things. And I'm going to highlight just a couple of really cool, intense things about command. This is not a command class. It does me no good to teach you command until you are connecting with 5 people a day, until you are writing 5 notes a day, until you are adding 5 people into command a day. You don't need to know any of the rest of the stuff I show you here real quick. You don't need to know about tags. You don't need to know about campaigns and action plans. You don't need to know about any of that. You need to first develop the habit of putting 5 people in every single day. And see, if you just add somebody, a couple people today, and then you don't add anybody for another 3 or 4 days, you don't need to know anything about command. It's not a management system. It's not a contact management system. You are not prospecting consistently yet. So you don't need to know everything it's going to do. That hodgepodge business is not going to get you any results at all. So just to kind of highlight what command will do is it's going to be a central place for you to put everything. You're going to have it open every single day. This is the engine that runs your real estate business. Every single person you meet is a gold bar. I said on Monday, right? It's a $5,000 to $10,000 gold bar. And I hate to make it sound like that, but you're helping them have an incredible experience buying a home that they want to live in or an investment that they can make money on, whatever it is. So that gold bar is the commission check. But what you're doing in trading for that is making sure that they have a great experience and that somebody's looking out for their best interest. Because most of the agents out there just see them as dollar signs and they just need to get their bills paid this month and they just cram that thing through or do whatever they have to do to make something off of it. So they're not really looking out for their best interest. But you'll be able to find people, organize it, all that stuff, and it will keep you on a follow-up plan so that you can stay in touch with people once you meet them. So here's kind of the difference. Leads are leads. You have not really connected with them on the phone. You don't really necessarily have permission to stay in touch with them. You're sending them things to try and get them to pick up the phone and call you back. We call it call to actions or headlines on whatever you're sending out to grab their attention. And any real estate agent that thinks everybody's reading everything you're sending them it's not happening. It's not happening. They might read the first headline, they might read the first sentence, and then they look at the end and see what's at the end, and then they either delete it. Most people, if you're doing an email follow-up campaign to a lead, they're not expecting anything for you. They haven't asked for anything from you. So you are getting highlighted in a big old chunk, and they hit the delete button and you go away. So most agents think they're doing this awesome follow-up plan with their email drip plan, and nobody's even seeing their emails. If their email is really only good for your active client who's waiting to get something from you, you are not going to convert somebody into a relationship through an email drip plan. It's going to be through phone calls, handwritten notes, and then those things kind of enhance the keeping your name in front of them until the next personal touch again. And that's the 12-2 return. The other thing are contacts, where you actually have their information. You had a two-way conversation, you paid attention to them, and now you're going to stay in touch. Now this says received permission to stay in touch. And I'm going to tell you right now, you do not have to, if you connect with somebody that's on your Facebook friends list or your phone, you really don't have to say, hey, can I get your address so I can keep in touch with you? There's plenty of ways to find their address without it. And you are going to keep in touch with them because you had a two-way conversation and you connected and you wrote them a note. You don't have to ask to stay in touch with them if you connect with people. So what happens in these two worlds is everybody stays in that trying to find the next deal, getting a lead. You get them on the phone. You're like, can I keep in touch with you and send you some more properties? Because your brain just keeps going back to that massive like lead generation, old school, when in actuality, what we're talking about is just capture a few people a day and do it every single day. And at the end of the year, you're going to have 1,200 relationships if you did this 5 times a day, 5 days a week for the whole year. You're going to have 1,200 people in there who've gotten a handwritten note from you. You didn't have to ask to be in touch with them. You just are being in touch with them. And you're going to have 120 opportunities to 240 opportunities. 1,200 people moving every 10 years is at least 120. If they're moving every 5 years, it's 240 opportunities. All you have to do is capture half of those. You don't even have to do this well. If you suck at your follow-up, you're still going to capture, you're going to have at least 100 opportunities. You're still going to miss 100 or so, but you're going to capture 100. Let's see how we're doing on time here. So this just kind of breaks down what that touch might look like. It's 19 to connect. There's 4 touches, which are your quarterly phone calls. That's a lot to a stranger that you haven't really connected with, but this also could be somebody that you've connected with and gotten on the phone, but you just haven't connected with them yet. It's just been a quick phone call, two-way. How much was that house? $250. Is that what you're looking for? Kinda. We haven't really decided yet. Okay. That's going to be a lead still. I didn't really connect. We had too short of a conversation for me to get all fuzzy with them to write them a handwritten note. But if I can move that conversation over to that side, that's when they become a contact. And the contacts, because you've connected with them and because they got your handwritten note and it feels good when they get it, you can stay in touch with them 36 times a year. So whenever an agent says 36 contacts to convert, like that would be bugging the crap out of them. You didn't connect with that person, or you could put them on a 36 touch. So don't try to cram this through, but also know if you say ever at all, whoever you put in, it's like, yeah, I don't know, 36 touches is a lot, then really they're a lead and it should be 19. And you're not going to convert 12 out of 2. You're going to get 1 out of every 50 people if you keep them on that plan. So you can see that there's a mind game that I've got to get everybody into this contacts list as quickly as possible. And if not, the first time I meet them, I need to really connect and make that count, because I'm going to get 8 times more business from the contacts group than I am from the leads group. Does that make sense to everybody? Are you kind of hearing that and starting to see it a little bit differently? And you're going to snap back into that leads group so much and just keep yourself. If you ever feel like you're bugging somebody, you're not connecting. And all you have to do is, I got to get connected. I got to really be able to write them a note that's meaningful. And when you do that, when you master that, you're going to have a crazy business after about a year. It will take probably 6 months for you to see anything really paying off big time. You'll get a deal here and there, but you'll start seeing it turn into automatic business from 6 months on to a year later. And then it's just a machine at that point. So again, talking about the command real quick, when you get your contact in, this is the only thing I want you to think of. In command, your assignment for the rest of Ignite is to get that notebook going. Step 1, that's from Monday's assignment. But step 2, to take 5 names, pick up the phone and get 5 of those people to talk to every day and get them in command. Feed 5 names a day into command every day for the rest of Ignite. It's 2 months. If you can do it for 2 months, you'll keep going after that, and you will call me and say, you changed my life. So adding contacts to your database every day is the absolute most critical thing. So the next few things I mentioned are not even remotely important until you're doing this step here. Until you're adding 5 people in a day, you don't need to know what color to tag them. You don't need to know what tag to call them. I mean, really, in the next month or two, if you did 5 a day, you're going to have 200 people in your database. We can go back and clean up the 200 later. That's manageable to clean up once you got 200 people in there. And now you say, okay, I got 200 people in there. I need to organize them somehow. Okay, we'll just start at A and go to Z. It's 200 people. We'll figure out what tag you want to color them and what we want to call them. And now you've got enough people in there that you know even what tags you would want to have and what colors you might want to have. You won't know what to do with that if you're putting in 5 people and then you're stopped. Well, I got to go figure out what tag to put people in before I put them in. That's just nonsense, right? You also don't need to customize your tags and get all these smart views in place because you're just feeding right now. Until you're feeding and until you get 200 people in the next 2 months in command, you don't even know what smart view you need to look at. Quit worrying about the little stuff. Do not make this more difficult than it needs to be. Next thing, interactions. So once you get 200 people in your database, you're going to go, oh my God, this Brad really jacked me up. It's like I got 200 people in there. I've done nothing with them. Well, guess what? Those 200 people are somewhere right now that nothing's happening to them at all. They're not even in command. So who gives a crap, right? So the next 200 people are either going to sit where they are right now, or you're going to get them in command. And then you're going to figure out how you really need to interact with them. So by doing this one step at a time and getting people in there, you will figure out what is important and what you need to do. That is what will create your sales pipeline. And then once you get those 200 people in there and we figure out that, oh my gosh, tags aren't important, but I do need to get them on a follow-up plan and start the calls and all that other stuff. That's your cultivation process, which will lead to all the other things, the writing a contract and looking at houses. But remember, by the time you get 200 people in there, by the time you've called them, and if all you do is write them the handwritten note to follow up the phone call, and then you added them in command, if they are one of the 2 to 4 people that are moving in the next month or two, remember 200, so 20 are moving in the next year, which means 1 or 2 of them are moving each month, and we did 200 people in command over a 2-month period. The most that's going to be in there is probably 2 to 4 people that are actually probably doing something in the next month or two. So you're already going to have them captured by calling and writing the note. The only thing the cultivation part isn't doing now is finding the next 2 to 4 people in that group of 200. But you wouldn't have had them anyway if you hadn't put them in command, and you will still find probably 2 deals that you would not have had by getting the 200 people in. That will lead to your appointments and your contracts. So again, there's all kinds of tech stuff. I know you guys have tech people in your room, in your offices that are doing command classes. where those are going to be really critical to you is once you get your 200 people in, and you're going to be like, holy crud, I need to go figure out what kind of nurture, what kind of action plan to put them on, what kind of whatever. And until you've done that, you do not need to know this stuff. By making the call and writing the note, you will already accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. So we'll go to our ahas. These are all your assignments. Like if we were in a 2-day class or something, you would go back with your assignments for the week on what you needed to do. But I'm going to try and get the survey question up here and post it. What I would ask you to do right now, and this is the time to ask all your questions, but real quick in the chat box, everybody click that link and get a tab opened up for the survey. So you can fill that out when we jump off the call here and just run through and let me know what you thought of today's class. Well, let your leadership know. For me, we're already done. You invested the time, so I hope you have good things to say. But I want to go ahead and open it up for any bold term, drunk monkeys in your head that are talking and how this 200 seems harder than it really is. And just talk to me about what you're getting out of today, what your ahs were today, if you've gotten something good out of today or you're thinking about things differently.
So I have a question about those people on Facebook. So what if they are agents? I know that we also had the profit share here with KW, but besides that, about those names, do we need to put them on our notebooks?
That is such an awesome question. And yes, your agents that are on your Facebook friends list, pick up the phone and call them and go, hey, we're agents in the marketplace. How's everything going in your world? Just start a conversation with them, right? When you get your co-op agents in your community into your database and you stay in touch with them, your co-ops go easier. They call you when they have special deals coming up. Right now, the more agents you guys can connect with and add with, which by the way, here's a trick question. I call an agent or I meet a new agent and they're really cool and we talk and we have fun and we connect. What's the next thing I should do to that real estate agent? Trick question. What's the next thing I should do with that real estate agent?
After you meet them?
What's that?
I'm sorry, after you meet them?
Yeah. You meet them, you have a conversation with them, you guys talk, they're cool, you actually had a two-way conversation, you kind of laugh a little bit. What's the next thing I should do with that agent?
I usually text him, say, like it was nice meeting. Oh.
Handwritten note, right? So what I would do is I would write that agent a note. Look at the cool note. I mean, these are from Note Card Cafe. So they got door knockers on them. They're not branded, right? These are $16.99 for 75 cards and 75 envelopes. Absolute cheapest cards you can possibly buy, high quality, right? I'm going to write that agent a note and go, it was so great talking to you today. Love an industry where there's co-oping and working together, and you are an amazing person. Thank you so much for your time. It was great meeting you and getting to know you better. Do you know what that's going to do for your future co-ops if you cross paths with that agent again? Guess whose offers are going to get slid up to the top? I love Maura. I love Elizabeth. I love Liz, right? So that's what the note card does. And then what I do is I put them in my database and I start them on a follow-up plan that talks about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And all I did in the past was I would copy a page out of page 133 through 148, something cool like the bullseye thing, copy it on your copier and then write a note on it. Hey, been working on my database for my business and thought you might like this, right? So when she said, build my downline, I'm starting to drip Millionaire Real Estate Agent stuff on them and just writing notes on it. And it's just a cheesy little copy of the page and a note about it and what it's done for me or what I'm working on. And you start doing that once a week or once a month to a real estate agent, and they start reading some of the stuff eventually, you're building up your downline. So it's fun stuff. And here's another scary thing. For the people that are new, I think Anna said she was new. So Anna, you just got out of real estate school recently, right?
Yes, I did.
Did
February.
they talk about how many real estates end up, or how many real estate agents don't make it in real estate? Did they talk about that in school at all?
They did. I don't remember the number, but it was like an extremely large number. I do remember
60 to
that.
80% of the agents will get out of real estate after 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Guys,
Crazy.
guess what? They're all moving every 5 to 10 years, and 80% of them will get out of real estate. Two things happen. One, you just pick up a client for buying and selling real estate sometime in the next 10 years. Two, you get a relationship with that agent, and when they get out, you like, what are you doing with your list of people? I mean, if all you have to do is keep your license in referral, it's sad that they didn't make it, first of all. But if you put your license in referral, let me connect with your list. I'll turn those into real estate deals. And if you have your license in referral, I'll send you referral fees at least. So you make some kind of money from real estate, right? How many of you even thought about that? I have had probably, well, in the past, I had a couple agents get out of real estate, and I sent them $6,000 in commission referral fees 1 year from their list. Because we had a good enough relationship, I said, hey, we're just gonna send out a letter to your whole list that says you and I are teaming up, even though they were getting out, that we're teaming up. You've teaming up with another top agent, and we're gonna deliver incredible service for you. And I just put all those people on a drip plan. And when they called me from our drip plan and said, hey, it's year 5, it's time for me to move, and I looked and it's tagged by the agent that got out, I send them a referral fee as long as their license is in referral. If they let it lapse, I can't send them anything, right? So does that answer your question about what to do with your agents? It's a gold mine for your downline. Listen, guys, I just crossed the path to where my bank account has as much in my profit sharing account. I have a separate account set aside that all my profit sharing goes in. That amount equals my cap. So guess how much it costs me to be a Keller Williams agent now? 0. That's called the 100% club. So that's a fun place to be. All right, any other questions from anybody or any ahas or comments? All right. Well, we are just a few minutes over 8 or 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock your time. So thanks for being here today, guys. Thanks for contributing. And I hope you liked it. Don't forget to click the survey link, because that's what will keep me coming back. And if you, again, outside of this session, if you have any questions at all, you just let me know.